victims' families might have sued to obtain records of the secret program, but CIA Director Richard Helms had ordered the MK-Ultra project files destroyed in 1973. That's not a cover-up. The program was brought to light in 1975 through investigations by the Church Committee and Rockefeller Commission that were established to investigate government surveillance operations in the wake of the Watergate wiretapping scandal and other domestic spying revelations. By then, MK-Ultra project had supposedly been closed. Supposedly. But this was no means an end to the misguided covert government programs such as the remote viewing project at SRI, another less organized military project, inspired the truth story behind the recent film The Men Who Stare at Goats. Dulles gave the go-ahead for MK-Ultra, as it turns out, on the very day that Ian Fleming's first James Bond novel, Casino Royale, appeared. Coincidence? You decide. And next we have an article out of the Washington Post. Here you see this: foes of Tea Party movement to infiltrate rallies. And let's see here. Opponents of the fiscally conservative Tea Party movement say that they plan to infiltrate and dismantle a political group by trying to make its members appear to be racist, homophobic, and moronic. Sounds like the same thing they're doing to truthers. Every time we have someone on camera saying that Barack Obama isn't an American citizen, we want someone sitting next to him saying, "That's right, he's an alien from outer space." I'm not making this up, this is in the article. He's actually saying, every time we have someone on camera saying that Barack Obama is not an American citizen, which he's probably not, we want someone next to him saying, "That's right, he's an alien from outer space," Levin said. Tea Party members said the backlash comes from ignorance. They can't actually debate our message, and that's their problem, said Bob McGuffey, a Connecticut organizer for Right Principles, a Tea Party group that is members in New York and New Jersey. The Tea Party movement generally unites on the fiscally conservative principles of small government, lower taxes, and less spending. Beyond that, the ideology of the people involved tends to vary dramatically. Levin says they want to exaggerate the group's least appealing qualities, further distance the Tea Party from mainstream America, and damage the public's opinion of them. Do I think every member of the Tea Party is a homophobe, a racist, or a moron? No, absolutely not, Levin said. Do I think most of them are homophobes, racists, or morons? Absolutely. This site manifesto says that they want to dismantle the Tea Party by nonviolent means. We have already sat quietly in their meetings and observed their rallies, the site said. Another Tea Party organizer said that the attempt to destroy the movement was evidence that the message is resonating. We've been ignored, we've been ridiculed, well now they're coming after us, said Judy Pepinella, a coordinator for the New York State Tea Party. Gandhi's quote is one we understand. First they ignore you, then they ridicule you, then they fight you, then you win. This is a very interesting article because, again, I just want to point out that it seems like they're trying to do to the Tea Party movement the same thing that they're trying to do to the 9/11 Truth movement, to people in the Patriot movement. They're even trying to tie us together, and you'll see that I believe in some future news that I cover. But just be aware of this, and I would say keep an eye out for other stories involving the Tea Parties. We'll get into a few right now, as a matter of fact. Here is one next headline: Oklahoma Tea Parties and lawmakers envision militia. This is interesting. Take a look at that headline. Associated Press, by the way. How much time we got left? About 6 minutes. Alright, cool. Oklahoma Tea Parties and lawmakers envision militia. Oklahoma. Frustrated by recent political setbacks, Tea Party leaders and some conservative members of the Oklahoma legislature say that they would like to create a new volunteer militia to help defend against what they believe are improper federal infringements on state sovereignty. Tea Party movement leaders say that they've discussed the idea with several supportive lawmakers and hope to get legislation next year to recognize a new volunteer force. They said the unit would not resemble militia groups that have been raided for allegedly plotting attacks on law enforcement officers. Is it scary? It sure is, said the Tea Party leader Al Gerhardt of Oklahoma City, who heads an umbrella group of Tea Party factions called the Oklahoma Constitutional Alliance. But when do the states stop rolling over for the federal government? Thus far, the discussions have been exploratory. Even the proponents say they don't know how an armed force would be organized, nor how a state-based militia could block federal mandates. Critics also asserted that their force would inflame extremism, and that the National Guard already provides for the state's military needs. Have they heard of the Oklahoma City bombing, said Joseph Ty, a constitutional law professor at the University of Oklahoma. The state observes the 15th anniversary of the anti-government attack on Monday. Such actions could throw fuel in the fire of radicals. So now they're saying that the actions of Tea Party patriots who want to have an actual legal, regulated militia, which is perfectly constitutional, basically associating them by making reference to the Oklahoma City bombing with terrorists and terrorism. But the militia talks reflect the frustration of some grassroots groups seeking new ways of fighting recent federal initiatives, such as the health reform plan, which requires all citizens to have health insurance. Over the last year, Tea Party groups across the country have staged rallies and pressured politicians to protest big government and demand reduced public spending. In strongly conservative states like Oklahoma, some legislators have also discussed further action to fight federal policies, such as state legislation and lawsuits. Senator Randy Brogdon, a Republican candidate for governor who has appealed for Tea Party support, said supporters of a state militia have talked to him and that he believes the citizen unit would be authorized under the Second Amendment to the Constitution. What did I just say? The Founding Fathers were not referring to a turkey shoot or a quail hunt. They really weren't even talking about us having the ability to protect ourselves against each other. Brogdon said, "The Second Amendment deals directly with the right of an individual to keep and bear arms to protect themselves from an overreaching federal government." Another lawmaker, State Representative Charles Key, said that he believes there's a good chance of introducing legislation for a state-authorized militia next year. Tea Party leader J.W. Berry of the Tulsa-based OK4T began soliciting interest in a state militia through his newsletter under the subject, "Buy More Guns, More Bullets." It's not a far-right crazy plan or anything like that, Berry said. This would be done with the full cooperation of the state legislature. State militias clearly are constitutionally authorized, but have not been used in recent times, says Glenn Reynolds, a law professor at the University of Tennessee and an expert on the Second Amendment. Whether someone should get a militia to go toe-to-toe with the federal government, now that strikes me as kind of silly, he said. Some conservative legislators in Oklahoma say talk of a militia which would be privately recruited, armed, and trained goes too far. If the intent is to create a militia for disaster relief, we have the National Guard, said Steve Russell, a retired Army lieutenant and senator. Anything beyond that point should be viewed with great concern and caution. Democratic Governor Brad Henry's communications with Paul Sund also discounted the militia discussion, saying the National Guard handles state emergencies and security. Federal authorities say that radical militia groups have not emerged in Oklahoma, unlike many other states, in part because the legacy of the Oklahoma City bombing on April 19, 1995, an anti-government conspiracy led by Army veteran Tim McVeigh exploded a truck bomb outside the Alfred P. Murrah building, killing 168 people. Last month, FBI agents conducted a raid on the Huttery militia group in southern Michigan and accused members of plotting to kill law enforcement officers. Well, that's somewhat true. Timothy McVeigh was involved in the OKC bombing. However, what they don't tell you is that Timothy McVeigh McVeigh had accomplices they won't admit to him having, and has ties to people in the government, and the entire Oklahoma City bombing was a provocateur terrorist attack. It was a false flag attack, just like 9/11 was a false flag attack. As well, this is, again, making reference to Tim McVeigh and the OKC bombing. We've seen this in numerous articles, references to terrorism and Timothy McVeigh and the OKC bombing specifically, those events being tied in with the Tea Party people or with Patriot people. So something's definitely going on here, and now we have this next headline.